And we're back. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Rollsicle. I, of course, am Nathaniel, and I'm joined by the lovely
Ashley.
And we are Rollsicle, just a couple of nerds here talking about our hobbies. And today, we're talking about like 5 undercover, hidden Switch 2 things that mostly leave us disappointed, but some of them might have some pros to them. I don't know. We wanted to share this stuff with you guys because we've been doing a lot of research, and even then, one of the things I found out at the gym today that Ashley doesn't even know about. So you'll get her first reaction to that, apparently, in this video. Look at her all spooked and scared. All right, anyway, so the first thing, number 1. My editing skills aren't great, so there's not going to be like a massive 1 that comes across the screen. But imagine it just 1. That looked like a 15 for a second there. But any hoosers. Number 1, the screen. Okay, so I'll be doing my best to discuss that. I'm no tech guy, okay? But the LCD screen on the Switch is already a big talking point, right? It's not an OLED, okay? So people are a little frustrated about that, but it's 1080p, so it is still a step up from a 720p OLED in the resolution department. Well, in like the last week or so, and especially since Digital Foundry put out a video about it, if you haven't checked it out, go look up Digital Foundry. They know way more about tech than I do, so they'll use all the fancy words that I don't understand. But long story short, a lot of people have noticed a pretty significant ghosting effect on their Nintendo Switches. And when you slow down the frames in the YouTube videos and you're playing on something that might be 2D, something that's very apparent to ghosting, it is actually very noticeable. And most people have done, or not most people, a lot of people on YouTube and other online sources have done their research and have looked into it and have found that the refresh rate, I could be wrong, but I think it's refresh rate of the screen is really low. Where most screens are coming in the 10 to 15-ish millisecond refresh rate. I think that's what it is.
I think so.
The LCD of the Switch 2 has been coming in around 37, I think is what I saw in one of the videos. Another one found it to be
worse than the Switch 1.
Yeah, significantly. It's like twice as bad. And the thing is that the jump between the next lowest screen on any of these handhelds or anything really that your gaming monitors and your TVs it's like a 20 millisecond jump. It's almost double, if not worse, than a lot of the displays that you're going to be playing things on.
Exactly.
Now, this is particularly concerning when the Switch advertises itself as 120 frames per second because, I mean, they're not lying. The screen can process 120 frames per second, but it can't display 120 frames in a second. And because of that, you end up in a circumstance where you have 3 to 4 frames at a time all being displayed or transitioned between on the screen. Well, when we're seeing multiple frames where something might be moving quickly across the screen, that's where we get the blurring or ghosting effect that people are talking about, because you're seeing the trail of the fading frames as you're seeing the new frames loading in, which is exactly what's happening. Now, if you play a lot of 3D games and you're playing docked, this is not going to be that noticeable to you. But if you happen to be playing 3D games handheld, or even worse, 2D games handheld, you might notice this over time, or if you're especially used to faster displays, this might become apparent to you. And it really is something that, though it hasn't affected us personally, and I probably would not have noticed it with the way we've used our Switch 2.
No, we've only used it docked. It makes it like 2 times I used a handheld. Really
disappointing. And it is concerning for the longevity of the console, which is really the point that Digital Foundry was kind of honing in on. If you want to go check out that video, they have all the fancy details in it. That being said, we just wanted to bring this to your attention if you didn't know and you were considering picking up the console. It's just another kind of lie or deceitfulness, maybe not full lie, but deceitfulness that Nintendo's been kind of hiding around. If you do even more research, you'll notice that the screen itself claims HDR, but a lot of outlets would say that the output that the screen is actually capable is barely, if not even failing to reach what people would consider HDR in terms of the range between the colors the brightness and colors that it can display. It's really just deceitful, and it hurts as you know, we were very back and forth on whether we wanted to pick up a Switch anyways, and I'm very happy about the experience we got day one.
Not so happy about the product.
It's been a downhill battle essentially, or it's uphill battle, downhill result.
Downhill slide.
There you go. Since then. Now, moving on to our second kind of deceit, which is, I guess, a good and bad thing. They changed to game key cards and stuff like that, which we made a whole video on, and we actually have a slight tidbit here as number 5 that's going to be talking about that. But one thing that did change when we lost Primary was the ability to play on your Switch one game and somebody else play your version of that game on another Switch. It's one of the big benefits, I would say, to primary consoles and digital games is that if you do it right, you can buy one version of the game and actually play with your friend.
Exactly.
Or play the same game at the same time. Now, you're not going to be able to play with your friends on the Nintendo Switch console, but you can actually play them at the same time. It's really weird. So what you have to do is you set one of the consoles as the console that has the virtual game card. Then on a console that does not have the virtual game card, you essentially turn on one of the settings. I forget exactly where it is in settings, but you can look it up. And you turn on your digital licensure playing ability. Basically says, hey, as long as I'm online on this console, let me play my digital games.
Yeah.
And it goes, and in that setting, it says, great, we're going to turn off virtual game key cards for other consoles as long as this is turned on. Mm-hmm. So what you do is you play your game with the internet on that Switch and make sure that the other Switch that had your virtual game card is turned offline, and you'll be able to play the same game on 2 different Switches. It's a really weird workaround. It's really difficult to pull off, but technically, if
works.
you were dying to both play Breath of the Wild at the same time and you own it digitally, there is a way. But it definitely is not going to work for playing games online together. So if that was something you were hoping for, it's definitely not going to be the case. No. All right, number 3. Three. Thank you. Number 3, we wanted to quickly talk about Mario Kart and some of the hidden things about Mario Kart. This is actually the one that I have my little surprise that I learned about, but we're going to start with...
because we watched a video about it the second you got home from the gym.
We're going to start with you.
Alright, so Mario Kart. This is what happened. So, you used to be able to, in Versus, play online, offline. You could play... What's it called? Oh no. It was in Versus. What's the setting called?
Offline in Versus, it's called Connected. Online, it's just playing races. If you're not playing Knockout Tour, it's just playing the races. I don't know the name of it. But.
Yeah, so if you're playing online, this was the first... This is how we first heard about it, playing online. But we don't play online. We just don't. That's not what we do. So when you're playing online, you used to be able to have... you used to be able to pick random. When you would play online, not Knockout Tour, you could play random.
Yeah, so when you're given 3 map options, you have 3 options, and then random.
And random used to give you, quite literally, just 3 laps on a track, it would pick a random track. That's what it used to do. Now, so most times people were picking random. In almost every single lobby, majority was picking random. They were getting random. So Nintendo sees this. Nintendo goes, oh, you don't like the connections? You don't like what's the word?
Intermission tracks.
Intermission tracks? You don't like the intermission tracks? So what do you think they did? Do you think, A, they gave you an option to just play 3 laps on tracks? Or do you think, B, they took away that option?
Yeah. Well, we already had an option because random worked. And so they updated the game.
And they went, ha ha ha, not anymore.
Nope.
So you still technically have a 3% chance.
Yeah.
To get a random actual full map for a full race.
So basically the random pool includes all of the 3 lap races, but then also includes every connection between every map. And so 9 times or more out of 10, you're going to be getting a connected map when you choose random. Mm-hmm. And the 3 options it gives you come from, if I'm not mistaken, the same pool. So you already had such a slim chance. Basically, you have a slim chance twice over. Is still a slim chance. Mm-hmm. And when you start equating that, people are really mad because not everyone likes the intermission tracks. And the hardcore audience that's playing this game online likes them even less if you look anywhere online. Most people are declaring this is the last straw. If they don't fix this and offer a classic mode, we're going to go back to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and so many other things where they said, look, these maps were wonderfully made. And if you've seen our review, we kind of agree with this. The maps are wonderfully made, but the intermissions being forced down our throats is not what we want.
Literally.
And playing only one map, like one lap of each map, doesn't showcase the maps at all. You get there with barely any time, and the worst thing, more than likely, is it encourages the playing of get into a late place, get the best items that you can, and then try to front run right at the very end.
Right as you get to the actual working track.
Yeah, as soon as you get to the actual track or close to it, you want to cut to the front, stay in there for, as long as you can, but not too long, right before the finish line, and then call it a day.
Literally.
And that's just not really fun for anyone. No. When you start playing online and see people breaking in front of power-ups just because it's the new meta, is not enjoyable. And Nintendo clearly indicated to the community that they don't care what the community wants. They care about how they intended the game to be played, and that's what this update's going to communicate. And ridiculous. I think it's time for the community to say back, okay, we don't care what update you put out. We're not going to play a game that doesn't allow us to play it the way we want to play the game.
There's no reason that the only way you should be able to play 3 laps of a track is in offline versus connected or time trials. That's ridiculous.
It is.
There should be an option for people who don't love the open world. I don't love the open world. I hate the straight tracks. I'm just going to say it. I hate them. They're stupid. I fall behind and I can never catch back up. So I hate it. And I want to be able to play normal Mario Kart. I just want to play Mario Kart. That's all I want. What's your surprise? I think I've heard yet.
Oh, yeah, you haven't. So another thing, just going off of the lack of information with Mario Kart, because no one really knew this was happening, and the update information basically just says the update information just says changes how random works essentially. But I found out today, having had this game now for 3 weeks? I don't know, something like that.
We've had it since we got the Switch.
We've had it since we got the Switch. I found out today that there is a mirror mode in the game and that you have to unlock it, and we have not unlocked it. This mirror mode, mind you, requires you to do stuff in the open world, and I have not done those things and probably never would have because the open world is not for me. But I love playing the tracks, and I love experiencing the mirrored of the tracks.
It's fun.
And I will give props to Nintendo. The mirror mode seems to be very good, functional, and they made a mirrored version of the entire open world that you can go into and drive around in.
Interesting.
I think that's pretty cute and at least takes some effort. Maybe it doesn't, but I imagine it does. And all of this is under a lot of people's radars. If you are not online following people and looking this up, you could very easily go months without knowing that this was in the game. Now, the way that you unlock it is pretty straightforward. I'll just go ahead and say it here for anyone that doesn't know. What you have to do is you have to have played every cup, every knockout tour, and then you have to get 10 P-switches, 10 Daisy coins or whatever, Peach coins, and 10 of the question mark blocks. And then you have to go back and play the special cup again. I don't know why. Apparently the trigger for unlocking it is just at the end of the special cup. So if that's the last cup you're playing, it'll work. But if it isn't, you've got to go back and play it again. And
that's some bullshit.
And the fact that it's not communicated at all is just like, wow, I really could have gone a long time knowing that this whole mode that is available in the game isn't in the game at all, because I don't find, me personally, the open world exclusive free roam of the game enjoyable.
And that's so complicated for no reason.
Yeah. Well, I understand that it's made up of do a little bit of everything the game has to offer. But what if you don't like everything the game has to offer?
Have you even found one of the Peach coins yet?
No, I don't think so. But you gotta look for them on the mini map and stuff.
So
it's something I will probably
getting worse and worse.
Something I'll probably go into to do just to unlock mirror mode. But I shouldn't have to do the things I don't want to do just to unlock mirror mode. I understand how they introduced the special cup. I actually like that. Play the 7 Grand Prix. And
this,
they also alluded to it. They said, play all the Grand Prix for a special surprise or something along those
They told
lines when
us.
you first boot it up. It mentions nada about mirror mode, so just wanted to put that out there.
Anyways.
All right, we're closing out this. We got 2 more, but they're pretty quick. So number 4, going across the screen. So 4th is the unknown like game upgrades and updates. So for those of you that don't know, there are certain games, Mario Party, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, etc., that have paid upgrades. $10, $20 upgrades that have a proper Switch 2 version. Then you have some free updates or upgrades for games that are just like, hey, if you happen to have a Switch 2, you can download this update. It's going to up the frame rate, maybe up the resolution a little bit better. It's going to have a version that runs 1080 native in handheld, whatever it might be. And then what we've noticed and the community at large has noticed is a bunch of sporadic games that are getting upgrades or updates without there ever being an upgrade or an update. So an example being the Mario Rabbids game, the first one, has an uncapped frame rate, so now it's running at like a perfect 60, and it basically never drops. Where it previously ran at 30, and the sequel to it, which has a capped frame rate of 30 because there's no update, is still running at 30, which is very strange. I don't have the full list in front of me, and you can find it online by a quick Google search.
We're going to link one in the
there you
description.
Go. We will link it in the description, and you can see a big old list of the community's findings of what has an update, what the update appears to be doing, or upgrade. I don't know what the best word would be.
Upgrade is.
And which games don't appear to have it. And there is no rhyme or reason and no official word from Nintendo. So
Which
once
is
more,
so frustrating.
just
Nintendo is just keeping people in the dark, and I think it's ridiculous. Like, there's also, this has been out for nearly a month, I think. I think we went and got this, like, way at the beginning of this month. So, this is ridiculous. Like, there's still, like, no word on official first-party games we're getting for this. Except for Donkey Kong. Don't come for me and say, well, we know about Donkey Kong. I know. We've known about that forever. I'm saying more than that. I don't want to play Donkey Kong. I'm sorry, not my vibe. I want other games.
Releasing in July does not feel like the big holiday release for this system. And they probably should have one. Metroid Prime 4 might be it because there's a lot of excitement around that game. But I feel like we're probably going to get something else. And we would love to hear about it. It's been a while.
I just want to know what games are coming to the Switch too.
Yeah.
We've seen so many not directs, but we've seen so many game show announcements since the Switch 2 came out, and we watched like 4 different ones.
Yeah.
I watched one on my own, and he watched a couple, and then he showed me some of them from. I think in all the ones that we watched, we saw one game that said Switch 2 on it. So, where are the games?
Yeah.
I don't necessarily want to be playing the Switch 1 games on the Switch 2 forever. I want to know what's coming to this console. I know y'all did not make a console and not make games for it.
Yeah.
I know there's games somewhere. What are they? Where are they? When are they going to be here? I want to know. I don't want to be stuck playing Mario Kart World on this thing forever.
That's true. It is a month in and still kind of feels like a $500 Mario Kart machine because there's not a lot of exclusives to come that are being talked about, or even non-exclusives that are just, hey, this will also be on Switch 2 if you want the portable version, come pick it up.
Exactly.
And right now, the games that are on there aren't really incentivized to play. $80 for Cyberpunk when I could pay $60 for it on a PlayStation that costs the same amount, mind you.
And it goes on sale pretty often on the PlayStation.
And it'll be even cheaper, because it's on sale. So impressive that they put those games on there, but I'd love to see a lineup that's a little bit bigger and Nintendo trying a little harder to advertise those things and let the world know, hey, there are some big games in the future that we are planning to put on our, for the next 7+ years more than likely, current gen consoles.
Exactly. And a bunch of the Switch 1 games aren't getting upgrades. So I don't want to be playing games that could just run on our Switch 1 on the Switch 2. Yeah. I want to know what this can do.
And a bunch of them
I want to see something better.
But a bunch of them aren't. And there's really no rhyme or reason. So sure, if you have a Switch 1, there's really no reason not to play them on the Switch 2. I don't think anyone's really noticed something get worse. But I'm not paying $500 for something to hopefully not get worse. That's not why we should be buying a console.
Exactly.
Okay, so number 5,
point.
our very last point that we have here. We just wanted to talk about the virtual card system and a little bit more experience that we have with it. So we made a whole video on this, and you guys haven't checked it out. You guys totally should. But in that video, we had a lot of frustration around the system, and we still have a lot of that. But I think Nintendo didn't really hit home some of the niceness of this, and the idea that you can play on one of your, if you happen to have multiple, one of your consoles, one of your games, while another person plays on their other console another one of your games with absolutely no internet connection needed. You can do this on a road trip. You can do this in the car on a road trip. You can have two kids playing on their Switch, and one of them has one of your games and one of them has your other game. There's no internet required at all, and that's not something we ever had with the primary system. The primary system said one console can do that. Every other console, if it wants to play these games, is going to have an internet connection. And that kind of is the whole online licensure thing we talked about earlier.
Yes.
But now with the virtual card system, it basically says two consoles can play offline with your games. But actually, if you are willing to give up the game and send it to another family member, which I think can be up to like 7 or 8 people, if I'm not mistaken, now you can actually have it go to like 9 different Switches, really. Never at the same time, like we talked about earlier, but you can have it go up to like 9 different Switches that could be playing your games all at the same time because, well, I don't know how many cards you can send out. I think it's 1 per person, so you should be able to. You know, I'm giving kid 1 this game, kid 2 this game, kid 3 this game. I'm playing this game on mine, and then my wife, who has the other one that's connected to mine, is playing this game. That's 5 different people playing your games. That's actually pretty versatile and is getting close to what it feels like to have a physical cartridge where you just go, hey, I gave this one to this kid, I gave this one to this kid.
They just came up to your little case and went, I want to play this one.
Exactly. So I do have to give it some props. I don't think it beats the primary system in every single way, and I definitely think the offline, like, roundabout way of doing it is stupid. But I did want to say, especially for families, which I do know is where the Switch tends to shine, this is actually a pretty good thing in a lot of ways, and I think it will, in the long run, outweigh the bad if they manage to do it well.
100%.
I still have the gripe about why is there a 7-day limit before it returns 14-day limit before it returns, and why is the person being sent the game the person that chooses when to return it, not the person
why
that
can I not just go
the person that received the game is the one that chooses to return it, not the person that sent it. That seems roundabout. And again, in this whole video, and we're about to wrap this up because it's been a while, but this whole video is essentially just saying, Nintendo, everybody is trying to give you so many chances and you keep dropping the ball or not even mentioning the times that you do something a little bit better. Mirror mode is great in Mario Kart. Why don't we know about it, you know?
Yeah.
And all of these other things, these virtual game cards could have been advertised better. The screen, don't lie to us about it, you know? It's just...
Don't be deceitful. And I think that's all that Nintendo's really shown us is that they're gonna do. So honestly, like, I mean, we grew up Nintendo kids, because, like, I mean, I had probably, I mean, a little more than him. I had a DS, I had a Wii, like, I Nintendo'd.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo is basically the company for not super hardcore gaming families to game with. And the Wii revolutionized that, right?
100%.
Along with the DS, it was basically... if you were going to have anything, you were probably going to have a Wii or a DS, or maybe
Almost
both.
everyone I knew growing up had that. I didn't know anyone who had a PlayStation. I didn't know people who had an Xbox. Like, that just wasn't what we had, like, in my town growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I think it's just really sad to see just how far I feel like they've gotten from the family aspect with the Switch 2. I feel like it's just gone from... the Switch 1 seemed a lot more, like, almost family-friendly because it was cheaper. You had the Switch Lite that came out eventually. I think that they have just taken this massive leap in the wrong direction. And I'm so disappointed.
I've never been more confident in our decision at the end of our sort of review video where I said, if you're not feeling like you need this, do not pick this up. Nintendo has dropped the ball heavily. There were a lot of warnings, and we let the first day one hype and that experience kind of shroud us, and we ended up with one. And I think there are aspects, especially about playing my old Switch 1 games on this system, that I'm excited about, but that's really the spot for a Switch Pro, and I should not be paying this much this many years later for just a Switch Pro.
Exactly.
So I think Nintendo really needs to get it together. They need to start making proper decisions and listening to the audience, and then actually telling us what's going on.
Literally.
So that's sort of where we're at. That's the 5 things we had. Do you have anything else to add about those?
No, not really. I mean, I've said my piece. I really do just think they're being deceitful, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm tired of it, quite frankly.
We're trying to do our part by spreading some of that news. If you do have Mario Kart World and you didn't know about Mirror Mode, I'm glad I was able to tell you about it. I hope it's enjoyable and fun, but at the end of the day, like we said, if you haven't picked this up and you don't feel a need to, it's really not the right time. You need to let this sit. You need to let Nintendo figure out what direction they're going to take this in, because they very well could stick their feet in the mud and decide, nope, we're not going to change Mario Kart. We're not going to change how the Switch works. We're not going to change anything. And even the changes we do make, if they're good, we're going to blow them out of proportions. And if they're bad, we're going to kind of hide them under the rug. It's really deceitful practices, and I'm very disappointed.
Same. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Right, well, unfortunately, it's a bit of a sad note to end on.
Sorry, y'all.
We hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, let us know down in the comments below. You can like the video if you enjoyed it. And if you haven't subscribed and joined the Rollsicle family, we'd love to have you as one of our lovely family members here at Rollsicle. That's what we have for you guys today. We've got all sorts of other content in the future. Until then, may those rolls be ever in your favor. We'll see you guys then. Peace out.
Bye, y'all.